right, so Ian, on this Odell Beckham front, he left the facility and he will go back home and ponder for a couple days. What is the thought process on a timeline you think for a decision from Odell?
I think we could get one soon. I wouldn't be surprised if there was one today or tomorrow. But we'll see because, if the situation is where it seems, which is that, he's not going to play this week, then there really is no rush. I mean, I guess you'd like him to get a playbook for wherever he signs, but, I would expect a ramp-up period for any team. So that's probably a couple weeks. So if someone signs him, whether it's today or tomorrow or Friday or Saturday, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Most important for Beckham is just, making the best decision for him and for everyone. So whenever he comes to that, I would expect it to be soon, but whenever he comes to that, what the decision is most important.
Is there a dollar figure that is kind of thought to be the one that he is seeking, or that he'll get, I should say?
I mean, he's seeking top receiver money, as he should be. He's a rare, really, really talented, do-it-all receiver available this time of year. So if you're a playoff team and, you want a final touch, you'll have to pay for it. So, I would expect him to go after top receiver money. And, it's pretty clear he wants a multi-year deal. Doesn't really want a one-year deal. Doesn't want to do this again and again and again. So I would say, top receiver money on a couple-year deal would make some sense.
The sense we're getting out of the Cowboys this week, especially the way Jerry had talked yesterday, Ian, was that maybe they've cooled a little just because they're it appears as if it may be into January before Odell Beckham's going to be ready. These other teams that have been interested, the Giants and the Bills, have they cooled similarly? Is this a market that's maybe starting to dry up a little bit, or do you think it's still active for them?
I don't get the sense the Cowboys have cooled. I really don't. I think everyone going in thought that this would be a situation where he would sign in, early December, take a couple weeks to ramp up, and then play at the end of the season in the playoffs. There's 2 games in January, so that'd be, week 17 and 18, so that's kind of right on schedule. So anyway, I know there's some reports yesterday. I haven't got the sense the Cowboys cooled at all. And I think, the other teams, probably on the same page. I think everyone believes that it's going to be late in the regular season and into the playoffs when you're going to get a contribution from Odell Beckham. But if you're a playoff team, that's kind of really just what you want anyway.
Do you think this is going to come down, like you just talked about, he wants to be paid like a top receiver? Is this just going to come down, do you think, to dollar figure for him, or is there a larger perspective that he has about fit and culture and things like that?
Well, I do really think that he would like to finish his career in a really good, solid, high-profile place. But they're all like that, So, do you want to finish your career in Buffalo? Well, I don't know. Buffalo's got a really good team. They got a great quarterback, and they're going to be in the playoffs every year. Giants are part of a rebuild, but that's a special place for him because it's the place that drafted him, and it's New York. So if you're looking for a big media market to finish your career and make moves after your career, that would be a good one. Dallas is similar, except they're, a little bit of a better team. And I think for the long term, my guess is Dallas will be good for the next many years. And it's the Cowboys. So a lot to like, different things, different strengths and weaknesses for each team, but which is why you could sort of see why this is a difficult decision.
Ian's got a pretty good beat on the Cowboys.
Right.
He was here for, I believe, 3 years, covering them as his main team several years back. And so, he's still got connections, I think, in the building, things like that. I think it's interesting that his sense is they haven't cooled.
Well, look, to me, if I'm Jerry Jones,
it felt very much like it was turning tepid yesterday to me.
It did. If I'm Jerry Jones and I'm Steven and I'm Mike McCarthy and I'm the rest of this team, I need him for the playoffs, okay? And I don't mean I need him to come back during the playoffs. This is not like T.O. just coming back in the Super Bowl with the Eagles in, 04. He had played that year. This guy's coming off. He hadn't played all season. T.O. is already on the Eagles. They already knew how to work him into the offense, how to be a part of the offense.
This is an overhaul.
This is an overhaul. You're bringing in somebody who has never caught a pass from Dak Prescott, never run a route for Dak Prescott. I think there's a massive difference in the 2. But we have seen it before where guys, like, they don't play all year. Like Terry Glenn, right? Terry Glenn in that 2007 season. He had 2 catches.
Yeah, now he had also, to be fair, again, to your point, Terry had been here.
He had been there before. He was on the team the previous year in 06.
Now, Amari Cooper stepped right in and had good chemistry with Dak right out of the gate and was able to pick up a lot of that. Now, would you feel, if he gets this done today, I think it's interesting, next day or two, Ian saying that's interesting to me. But if they get this done and you've got the next month while he rehabs, that he can get in all those mental reps and work on the language and everything else, and that when he comes back, in theory, that let's say he comes back for a playoff game, Chop, if it's just about, hey, he's put in the 6 weeks of study to get this down, this is just going to be about their chemistry and knocking off rust. Would you feel comfortable that Odell Beckham is enough of a difference maker and a talented enough player that he would be able to overcome that stuff really quickly? That this wouldn't be like a slower Michael Gallup start, something like that. We're talking about Odell Beckham. He'll knock off this rust. He'll be back. Or at the very least, teams will have to consider him a threat until they see he isn't.
Well, I think the big advantage is that Odell is going to be going up against the third corner probably in the first game.
Right. Yeah.
That to me is the big advantage. Right? If I'm the other team, I'm like, okay, until this guy could show that he is he's got some elite ability to come back immediately, we're going to stick our third corner on him. Or at the very least, the 2. He ain't going up against the 1. That's key. Like that to me is key. Every team is going to be deficient beyond their first corner for the most part. The amount of teams, there is no Richard Sherman and Browner. Right?
Browner was a good player.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like,
or he went to jail or
that's what I'm saying. Like, they had 2 good players.
Yeah.
Right? This isn't Revis and Cromartie, where he had 2 good players at the corner position. Now it's
although Bland has been playing well coming into his own, but
well, I'm not. But the Cowboys are different. I'm not
Cowboys, but in terms of like that same sort of thing,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many teams have 2 essentially number 1 corners? Very few. Very few. You got a 1, and then you got a weak link.
Right. I mean, I think if we were talking about and I made this point earlier this week, if we were talking about the Cowboys having to prep for Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, and Odell Beckham coming off an ACL, I think we'd be concerned.
Of course.
I think that would be something we discussed during the week of, even though Odell Beckham's coming off an ACL, this is really tough to cover.
If you have to prep for 3 wide receivers, look, say what you want about Anthony Brown. When Antonio Brown played the Cowboys last year in the opener, like, you had a Hall of Famer going up against Anthony Brown. Now, and even though and I like Anthony more than most do, but like that's a matchup that he can't cover Antonio Brown for a full game. That's not what he's supposed to do. He's not a 1, so he shouldn't be able to cover a 1. And Antonio Brown on 99% of the teams in his prime is a 1.
The reason why Odell Beckham won't see a number 1 corner, the breakout of one CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb was talking with Sage Steele on SportsCenter yesterday. Went back and forth a little bit about Odell Beckham.
I have to ask you about Odell Beckham Jr., right?
Nah, well, definitely. We don't have to, but we can.
Oh, okay. Well, good. We're going to go there real quick. Have you talked to him?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. He knows I want him here. Playing with him would be crazy. So just everything that he's done, for the Rams last year, and understanding that he was that key component to know he played a huge factor in that run in the playoffs. So, I mean.
So take me through that. What damage would CeeDee Lamb and Odell Beckham Jr. do together that would give nightmares to other defenses?
Oh, it'd be crazy for sure. I feel like yards after the catch is nuts. You never know what you're going to get. And just being out there, you're going to have to account for both of us, and not to mention MG and a lot of other guys that we have on the team. So just kind of incorporating him alongside that, I mean, it's going to be hard to double us.
So he's going to say positive things about him, but I also think you can hear at the beginning of that. No, we don't have to talk about Odell. Like he will, but I think he's kind of tired of it too.
I think they all are.
Which
I think they
can't
all
blame
are.
him.
No, I can't either. But it's funny. It's like, every player in this team. And I will say this: if I'm CeeDee Lamb, I'm like, man, look at my receiver room.
Yeah.
Is that a shot at the receivers? Like, what? We're not good enough. What we have now?
Sure. I think your pride comes into play for sure.
I mean, I think it absolutely comes into play. So I understand. CD's like, don't worry about talking about this guy. I'm the one here. I'm here. You know what I mean? What about McGallop, my guy? He's here too. Like, if I'm CD, I'm thinking that. That doesn't mean that you don't want to have everybody you possibly can at your disposal.